The return to the city brought an immediate jolt back to reality. The short respite in Asentepe had done its job. Each of them felt recharged, but the relentless demands of the movement loomed large once again. The community leaned on them more than ever, seeking guidance and support. One afternoon, Alero sat in a cafe with Patricia, reviewing strategies for an upcoming protest. The weight of their responsibility hung in the air between them, unspoken but palpable. "I don't think we'll ever really get a break," Patricia said, half joking but with a trace of weariness. "But I guess that's the price for leading this," Alero nodded, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "It's just hard, knowing that no matter how much we do, it never feels like it's enough." Unexpectedly, before Patricia could respond, Kofi burst through the door, his usual calm demeanor replaced by an urgency that sent a chill through the air. He sat down, his face taut with concern. "There's been an incident," he said quietly. "A group of immigrants was taken by the police. Word is, they're cracking down harder than before." Alero's heart sank. The peace and clarity they had found over the weekend felt like a distant memory. They had always known the battle would be long, but each new blow chipped away at their hope. Patricia stiffened. "We need to act now," Alero agreed, but as they prepared to mobilize once again, she felt a quiet resilience stirring within her. The weekend in Asentepe had reminded them why they fought, not just for justice, but for their shared humanity. No matter what came next, they would face it together. "We'll get them out," Alero said, standing. "We have to." Just as she spoke, Kofi's phone buzzed. He glanced at the message, his expression tightening further. "There's a meeting with Chief Inspector Yilmaz in 2 days," he said, his voice measured despite the tension. "They're calling it an open dialogue, but it sounds more like damage control." He paused, frowning. "They know the arrests are a powder keg waiting to explode." Patricia looked ready to storm out and confront the authorities immediately, her frustration palpable, but Alero reached out and placed a calming hand on her arm. "We have to be smart about this," Alero said softly. "Rushing in now could make things worse. Let's use this meeting strategically. We'll gather the community and bring them with us. Yilmaz and the others need to understand this isn't just about a few individuals, they're facing an entire movement." The resolve in Alero's voice settled the tension in the room. They knew the road ahead would be full of challenges, but with each step, they had grown stronger. Together, they would face whatever came next, not just as activists, but as friends, united by a shared purpose and an unyielding hope for justice. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. Alero, Patricia, and Kofi spent every waking moment gathering allies, organizing meetings and strategizing for the upcoming dialogue with Chief Inspector Yilmaz. They knew that the meeting would set the tone for their next move, and they couldn't afford any mistake. On the morning of the meeting, the air felt heavy with tension. The community had gathered at a hall near the city center, waiting for Alero and the team to brief them before heading to the station. Some faces were familiar, veterans of the cause, while others were new recent victims of the crackdown, desperate for answers and support. Alero stood at the front of the room, scanning the crowd. Her voice was steady as she addressed them, but inside, a knot of anxiety tightened. "Today's meeting isn't just about the arrests," she began, her gaze moving from face to face. "It's about sending a message that we will not be silenced. This is about our rights, our dignity, and our future. We go in there today not as individuals, but as a community, strong, united, and determined." Patricia took over, outlining the plans in details. "We're not going to let Yilmaz dictate the conversation. We're going to present our demands clearly and firmly. We want transparency, accountability, and the immediate release of those detained." Kofi chimed in, his usual calm demeanor restored. "We've also got the media backing us up. Journalists are already outside the station, and they'll be following every word that's said in that room. If the police try to spin this, we'll make sure the truth gets out." As the meeting broke up, and the group prepared to head to the police station, Alero found herself standing alone for a moment, looking out the window. The streets outside were bustling with everyday life, oblivious of the struggle that consumed her and so many others. She felt the weight of it all pressing down on her, leading a movement, fighting for justice, bearing the hopes of a community. Suddenly, she remembered Tepe, the peace, the clarity, the reminder of why they fought. It wasn't just about the battles they were in this for something greater. The fight wasn't just for survival, it was for a better future, for the humanity that bound them all. At the station, the atmosphere was charged. A crowd had gathered, their presence a silent reminder to the authorities that the community was watching. As Alero, Patricia, and Kofi stepped inside, they were greeted by cold, sterile walls and the grim faces of police officers. Chief Inspector Yilmaz was waiting in a small, dimly lit room, flanked by 2 other officers. "Thank you for coming," Yilmaz began, his tone diplomatic but strained. "We've called this meeting to discuss the recent events and find a solution that works for everyone." Patricia wasted no time. "What we want is simple: release those who were detained and stop targeting our community. These raids are nothing short of harassment." Yilmaz sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I understand your concerns, but you have to realize that we're under pressure too. There's been an increase in illegal activities and we're just following protocol." Alero's voice cut through the tension. "What protocol justifies rounding up innocent people? What protocol allows you to rip families apart and throw them in detention cells with no explanation?" Yilmaz shifted uncomfortably. "We're doing what we can to maintain order." "Order?" Kofi asked, his voice low but firm. "This isn't about order. This is about control. You're trying to scare us into submission, but it's not going to work." For a moment, the room fell silent. The officers exchanged glances, sensing the unyielding determination in the air. Alero took a deep breath. "We're not asking for much, Inspector Yilmaz. We're asking for fairness, for dignity, for the respect that every human being deserves. And if you can't provide that, then we'll continue to fight until you do." Yilmaz looked at her, and for the first time, Alero saw something shift in his expression. Maybe it was recognition, maybe it was exhaustion, and that something had cracked. "I'll see what I can do," Yilmaz finally said, his voice quieter than before. "We'll review the cases and I'll make sure there's a fair process, but this can't be a free-for-all. We need cooperation from your side too." Alero nodded. "We're willing to work with you, but not at the cost of our rights." The meeting ended with no clear victory, but as Alero, Patricia, and Kofi stepped back outside into the bright afternoon sun, they felt something shift. The battle wasn't over, but they had gained ground. The community was stronger, the movement more resilient, and the authorities were starting to realize that they couldn't win this fight by force alone. As they walked back towards the crowd, Alero felt the weight of the day lift, just a little. They had faced the authorities and came out standing tall. There would be more battles ahead, but for now, they had something just as powerful as victory. They had hope. The celebration after the meeting was modest, but filled with a tangible sense of triumph. As the crowd dispersed, the core team found themselves back at Patricia's apartment, talking over the day's events, strategizing the next steps and sharing laughter that felt lighter than it had in weeks. Later in the evening, as the others left, Alero lingered. She and Kofi remained behind, sitting close on the balcony, the city lights shimmering in the distance. A comfortable silence fell between them, punctuated only by the hum of nightlife below. Kofi looked at her, a gentle intensity in his gaze. "Today was something else," he murmured, his voice low. "But you, Alero, you were unstoppable." She felt warmth rise in her cheeks, a slight thrill running through her at the closeness between them. The tension from the day, the adrenaline, it was all still there, hanging in the air between them. She reached out, brushing her hand over his. "I couldn't have done it without you." Their hands lingered, fingers intertwining. Kofi's thumb traced small circles on her palm, and she felt her heart quicken, a quiet pull drawing them closer. For a moment, the world outside faded, and it was just the two of them, wrapped in the soft glow of the city lights and something deeper that had been building between them. Wow, without a word, Kofi leaned in, his lips brushing hers, gentle but unyielding. The kiss deepened, filled with the shared weight of battles fought, resilience, and a new hope that tasted as electric as the night around them. The night unfolded in slow, whispered moments on the balcony, the world feeling as if it had paused just for them. After the kiss, they stayed close, Kofi's arm gently around Alero's shoulders as they watched the lights dance across the city skyline. Alero felt a warmth settle in her chest, a feeling she hadn't dared to acknowledge, much less name, but tonight, it felt too real to ignore. Finally, she broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. "When I first came here, I didn't think I'd ever find this." She looked up at him, her eyes bright and soft. "A team, friends, someone I could trust." Kofi's gaze held hers, steady and unwavering. "You've given all of us so much strength, Alero, especially me. I don't know if I could have gotten through these in the past weeks without you." His voice was thick with sincerity, his hand reaching for hers once again. They stayed like that for a while, caught between words unsaid and the steady beat of each other's hearts. Eventually, Kofi's arm slipped from her shoulder, and he took her hand, leading her inside, an easy rhythm forming as they boiled water and poured steaming cups. Alero felt a giddiness bubbling up inside her, every little brush of his hand sending sparks along her skin. They sipped their tea in silence, each savoring the quiet, tender moments between them. After a while, Kofi spoke again, his tone contemplative. "We've made it through so much already, but the real work is just beginning, isn't it?" Alero nodded. "Yes, but I feel ready, we all do, and I hope you'll be right there beside me." His hand found hers across the table, fingers intertwining naturally always, he whispered. They shared a look that spoke of unspoken promises and a future they were only beginning to glimpse. Just as they finished their tea, a distant siren sounded, breaking the spell, but somehow only deepening the connection between them. They both smiled, each with the knowledge that this moment was just the beginning of something neither of them had expected, but both desperately wanted to see through. As the night deepened and they retired, Alero felt lighter, carrying with her the memory of Kofi's touch and the certainty that she wasn't alone. Not anymore. Kofi paced the narrow confines of the apartment, his steps sharp and restless. Alero watched him from her spot on the couch, her heart heavy with the tension that had settled between them. The morning had started, quietly enough, but something had shifted in Kofi as the hours dragged on. Now, the air was thick with his frustration. "I just don't get it, Alero," he said, running a hand over his head. "Every time I turn around, it's like they're looking for someone to do the hardest, dirtiest work, and they expect us to take it without complaint, like we're supposed to be grateful for scraps. They get annoyed so easily, as if anger is their forefather. It's like they see us as tools, not people, and even getting those jobs is a fight. There's always someone else desperate enough to take even less than what's being offered." Kofi stopped pacing and turned to face her, his jaw tight. "It's not just the work, Alero, it's the way they treat us. Like we don't deserve to dream of anything more." "I didn't come all the way here to be used like this, did you?" Alero flinched at the question, guilt flooding her chest. She lowered her gaze, unable to meet his. "I didn't think it would be this hard," she admitted. "I thought I'd find something, anything, to keep me going, but..." Her voice faltered, and for a moment, she fought to hold back the tears. "I made mistakes, Kofi. I let this place change me." Kofi's expression softened, but the pain in his eyes remained. "What do you mean?" Alero took a deep breath, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I couldn't find work, not anything that paid enough to survive, and I was desperate. The rent, food, my permit, it was all piling up. I didn't know what else to do." Kofi's eyes widened as realization dawned. "Alero, no." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I hated every second of it, Kofi. every moment, but I didn't see another way out, and now my residence permit is expiring. I don't even know how to renew it. For a moment, the room was silent, the weight of her confession hanging heavily between them. Kofi sank into the chair opposite her, his head in his hands. "You shouldn't have had to go through that," he said finally, his voice low and filled with regret. "None of us should." Alero wiped her eyes, her voice firmer now. "It's this place, Kofi. It's designed to break us, to keep us struggling. I regret coming here, but I can't go back. Not like this." Kofi reached out, taking her hand in his. "We'll figure something out together. I won't let this place swallow us whole." Outside, the world continued as it always did, indifferent to their struggles. But inside the small apartment, amidst the chaos and despair, a fragile hope began to grow. For the first time in what felt like forever, Alero and Kofi allowed themselves to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could find a way out. The apartment was silent except for the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock. Kofi's hand remained on Alero's, a gesture that spoke of shared struggles and unspoken resolve. His grip was firm yet gentle, as if anchoring her to the fragile hope they had just kindled. "We can't stay like this, Alero," Kofi began, his voice steady. "Waiting for something to change won't help us. We have to find a way to take control, even in this system that tries to bury us." Alero nodded slowly, the lines of worrying etched on her face easing slightly. "But what can we do? Every avenue we've tried leads back to the same dead ends. No money, no connections. It feels like every door is locked before we can even knock." Kofi leaned back in the chair, his gaze fixed on the ceiling. "What if we stop looking for their doors?" Alero frowned. "What do you mean?" He sat forward, the spark of an idea taking root. "We've been trying to fit into their system, begging for scraps from their table, but we have skills, Alero. You have your way with people, your ability to connect and organize. And me, I know how to get things done. What if we build something of our own?" Alero blinked, caught off guard by the audacity of his words. "Build what, Kofi? We can barely keep this apartment. What can we build?" Kofi's eyes shone with determination. "A network, a support system for people like us. We're not the only ones drowning here. What if we brought people together, Africans, Pakistanis, anyone struggling, and pooled our skills? We could trade services, share knowledge, help each other find better ways to survive." Alero considered his words, her mind racing. "A community," she murmured. "But we'd need trust and resources. Where do we even start?" "With the people we know," Kofi said firmly, "the ones we can count on, no matter how few. And we start small. Maybe offering help with things like paperwork for permits or sharing job leads that don't take advantage of us. It won't be easy, but it's better than sitting here, waiting for life to crush us completely." Alero stared at him, a flicker of admiration breaking through her doubt. "You're serious about this?" "I am," Kofi said. "We've already lost so much. Alero, we can't lose ourselves too." Alero leaned back, the weight of her own fears giving way to cautious optimism. "If we do this, Kofi, it has to be for more than just surviving. It has to give people a reason to hope again, a reason to stay." Kofi smiled, though it was tinged with the gravity of their situation. "Then let's give them that reason." The room seemed lighter somehow, the despair replaced with a tentative energy. Alero felt it too, the stirring of something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Purpose. The two sat in quiet contemplation, sketching plans in their minds, unaware of the storm that brewed beyond the walls of their small apartment. The city had a way of testing resilience, of pushing even the strongest to their limits, but now they had each other and they had a plan. Their first challenge would come sooner than they expected. The air in the apartment grew cooler as the night deepened, but Alero and Kofi's thoughts burned with newfound purpose. They began to sketch ideas on a piece of scrap paper, laying the foundation for their dream of a self-sustaining community. But life in northern Cyprus was never straightforward. especially for foreigners. The next morning, as Kofi prepared to leave for a menial job he'd taken to keep them afloat, the landlord appeared. His face, lined with impatience, was as unwelcome as the knock that had jolted them awake. "You owe me," the landlord barked, his accent thick. "Today is the deadline and you're late." "Only late by a few hours," Kofi replied calmly, glancing at Alero for support. The landlord's lips curled into a smirk. "A few hours, a few days, no difference. Late is late. You foreigners think you can live here like the locals. Pay me an extra 200 Turkish lira. That's the penalty." Alero's stomach churned. They both knew the penalty was not lawful, but what could they do? The authorities rarely took the side of immigrants. Most landlords exploited this ignorance, charging exorbitant rents and illegal penalties to squeeze every cent out of those desperate enough to stay. "Where are we supposed to get extra money from?" Kofi muttered after the landlord stormed out. Alero sighed, running a hand through her hair. "This is why we have to build something of our own. We can't keep living like this. Kofi paying penalties for things we shouldn't, fighting just to exist." Kofi sat down heavily, the weight of her words sinking in. "And registering a legitimate business here isn't even an option for people like us. Did you know you need a Turkish or Cypriot guarantor, and you will pay thousands of dollars? They hold the company in their name, and so many of them will shortchange you or take over once it's profitable. That's why so many foreigners do it under the radar." Alero nodded grimly. "I've heard stories. People putting in their life savings only to lose it all because they trusted the wrong person. You see, we have to tread carefully, but we can still make this work," Kofi said with determination. "There are already WhatsApp groups where Africans and other foreigners trade services, haircuts, babysitting, tutoring, cooking. What if we tap into that network and formalize it?" Alero leaned forward, her eyes lighting up. "We could create a central group, a hub where people can offer services or request help, but we also need to educate them about their rights, about how to avoid exploitation. It's not just about survival, it's about empowerment." Kofi nodded. "We'll start small, like I said, and eventually, we can work towards registering something legitimate. Maybe we'll find someone trustworthy to go into partnership with, or we'll find a loophole, but for now, we use what we have." Their discussion stretched into the afternoon, interrupted only by the occasional groan of the refrigerator and the distant hum of traffic. By evening, their plans were taking shape. They drafted a message to share in the existing WhatsApp groups, announcing their intention to create a new community for support and trade. "Let's call it something that inspires hope," Alero said thoughtfully. "How about Solidarity Network?" Kofi suggested. Alero smiled. "It's perfect." That night, as they sent out the first messages and received tentative replies, they felt a sense of purpose unlike anything they'd known in months. The landlord's demands still loomed over them and the odds were stacked high, but they had something intangible, yet powerful, a vision for a better future. They had no idea their efforts would soon attract the attention of both allies and adversaries, testing their resolve in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The first battle, however, would be finding enough people willing to trust them and the system they wanted to create. The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains as Alero pored over her notes, tweaking their initial plans. Kofi's footsteps shuffled behind her. Heavy with fatigue, she prepared for another grueling day at the car wash. "We'll get through this," Alero said softly, glancing up. Kofi managed a weary smile. "I know, but first, I have to survive another 12 hours of scrubbing dirt off cars." At the car wash, the stark reality of Kofi's workday unfolded. The boss, a kind Azerbaijani man named Mr. Karim, had welcomed him warmly when he was hired. "Work hard and you'll always have a place here," Karim had said, handing him his first paycheck of 30,000 TL, a small fortune compared to other jobs available to immigrants, but any comfort Kofi might have felt quickly eroded under the oppressive gaze of the manager, an Azerbaijani man from Karim's hometown. right from the moment Kofi started. The manager, a wiry man with a perpetual scowl, seemed determined to make his life miserable. "You think this is some charity?" The manager sneered at Kofi. "Next month, your pay will be 25,000 TL. Business is slow and we can't afford to keep paying you this much." Kofi had nodded silently, biting back a retort. He needed the job, even if the hours were punishing. From 9 AM to 9 PM, he stood on aching legs, scrubbing, rinsing and polishing car after car under a chilling weather. The manager made sure Kofi had a moment's rest. When there were no cars to wash, Kofi was tasked with cleaning the office, sweeping the parking lot or polishing the glass doors. He even washed the cars from the rental service that Kareem-owned vehicles often returned, covered in grime from long road trips. The manager allowed his friends to bring their cars for free washes, barking orders at Kofi as if he were nothing more than a machine. "Do it properly," he'd snap. "You missed a spot there." Kofi's hands were raw from the chemicals and his muscles ached from the relentless work, but what weighed on him most was the injustice of it all. That evening, as Kofi dragged himself back to the apartment, Alero greeted him with a warm meal and an encouraging smile. "How was today?" she asked, though his exhaustion spoke volumes. "The boss is a good man," Kofi began, sinking into a chair. "But his manager, that man is a demon in human form. Can you believe he told me my pay will drop next month because we don't have enough customers? Meanwhile, I'm washing cars for his friends for free, cleaning their offices, and even handling the rentals cars. I work 12 hours straight, and it's never enough for him." Alero's expression darkened. "It's not fair, Kofi. You're doing more than your share, and they're exploiting you because they know you can't complain." He nodded, sighing deeply. "That's why we need this network, Alero. It's not just about making money. It's about giving people like us a chance to escape this kind of treatment." Alero slid a sheet of paper toward him. "I've been refining our plans for the bus system. If we could gather enough people to chip in, we could rent a small bus and run a shuttle for our community. People could pay a small fee for rides, and we'd have a steady income." Kofi's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. I know so many people at the car wash who would jump at the chance to ride a reliable bus instead of walking or waiting for overpriced taxis. If we offer them better rates, they'll support us. And it's not just about transportation," Alero added. "We can use the bus as a mobile advertisement for the Solidarity Network. Imagine the logo and our contact details printed on the sides. Every time it drives through the city, more people will see it." Kofi smiled, the spark of hope reigniting. "It's a start. I'll talk to a few people tomorrow, see who might be interested in joining us. We'll need to pool resources to make it happen, but I think we can do it." As they worked late into the night, refining their plans and drafting a proposal to share with their growing network, the weight of their struggles seemed a little lighter. They were tired, yes, but they were also determined. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in months, Kofi and Alero felt like they were moving forward together. Northern Cyprus, a region with a unique blend of history, culture, and natural beauty, offers an intriguing experience for those who visit. Located on the northeastern part of the Mediterranean island of Cyprus, it is known for its stunning beaches, rugged landscapes, and ancient ruins. From the crystal-clear waters of its coastline to the picturesque hillsides, Northern Cyprus is a hidden gem for travelers seeking both relaxation and adventure. The region is also home to historical landmarks like the ancient city of Salamis, St. Hilarion Castle, and the Venetian-style Kyrenia Harbour, which tell the story of a rich and diverse past. The culture of Northern Cyprus is a fascinating mix of Turkish and Cypriot traditions, with a strong influence from both the East and West. The area is renowned for its warm hospitality, vibrant cuisine, and lively markets. Turkish Cypriot food, such as kebabs, mezes, and baklava, delights visitors with its fresh flavors, while the rich heritage of music, dance, and arts creates an inviting atmosphere for cultural exploration. Despite its political status, Northern Cyprus remains a peaceful and welcoming destination, offering visitors a unique perspective on life in this part of the world. Share, comment, and like. This is a true story from northern Cyprus.